Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? We've got a best of 3 match against my man Nick here, and he's playing Zoro, I'm playing Katakuri, and this is actually the top 4 of our Manga SogeKing tournament that we just had. Unfortunately, you know, if you watched the last video, I sadly did not get to upload a lot of the matches leading up to this because we did have some unfortunate technical difficulties, and the videos that I uploaded were a little corrupted, and I had deleted them off my phone because I had assumed they were already on Dropbox. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But we started off, and my man gets Curly the Dawn down. I think he searched out Izo, and then we put down Perospero. Pretty standard start here. He's taking a look over his hand, seeing if, you know, there's some choices in there that he would particularly like, because, you know, this means he has options. And whenever I see my opponent kind of like dwelling over that, it makes me think, okay, there are some potential bottom decks that are happening that, you know, he's not too ecstatic about. But he does choose to go 5 here. I will counter out with Shirahoshi just because he could potentially go 7 with leader, and I didn't want to have to take 2 hits, and there he goes. He goes 7. I will take that. We don't get a trigger off first life, which is, you know, always a little sad. You want to try and get that. You're like, oh man, please. But I'll go 5 here at the Curly Dadan, and I will go 7. I'll use my leader ability, look at my top life, I'll leave it there, and then we'll just play 4 for Daifuku. Now, this is where I feel like turn 3 for me is always a scary part against red, because if they do have the Fire Fist, it can be a little annoying. And he does swing 5 here. I don't really feel like countering out. feels like it could be a little scary. I do pick up the 7-drop Big Mom though, and he plays Makino, bringing Izo up to 5. And I'm okay with taking this hit because I know that with 5 Dawn remaining, he's probably trying to get that Marco down, but also simultaneously, the last week, or was it last week? Yeah, I think it was last week. I played against Nick as well, and he was running a very similar build to what I run in Zoro, which is, you know, a lot of the Whitebeard Pirates, so I wasn't expecting a rush card at that moment. And I will go ahead and rest 1. Let's play down Pudding, see if I can find some useful cards. I do see Thunderbolt in there. Thunderbolt is pretty useful in this red matchup against the Marco, but I know that I am being pretty generous with my life, so I might need to take a counter card, but we do choose to take the Thunderbolt just in case. I know I gotta plan around that card for the end game, and I'll just go ahead and choose to swing 7. I'm deciding whether I want to, you know, put this card to the bottom or top of life. We do choose to go bottom. I will swing 6, and I'll take top, and I think that was a pretty good call because we ended up getting like a 7-drop Big Mom out of there, and I hate to have those in life, honestly. Any of the bigger cards in life is like super unfortunate in my opinion. I'm like, uh-oh, I don't want this. But I think, yeah, he's definitely going to swing 7 at Daifuku here, 7 with Marco as well. Yeah, but he chooses to go 8, and I do decide to take. I haven't been getting any triggers out of life, and he'll just play Marco, leaving 1 active for a Radical Beam or a Guard Point. I know that his life is a little out of the screen at the moment, but I believe he has 4 life, if I'm not mistaken. We do have 2, but the hand size is looking pretty good. I just want to see if I can get the most value out of this. I'm going to go 7 at life with Cracker. We do force out a Guard Point right there, and now I could put down 7-drop Big Mom, or I could yeah, we're just gonna go swing 7, look at life yet again, and now we have the information that we need. We know what the last 2 life are, how to play around it and to use those cards. He does use Fire Fist here out of life and takes care of the Cracker. A little bit unfortunate because it would have been super nice to have that card as like a pseudo blocker the next turn. But we do get to put down 7-drop. He trashes his card, and it happens to be a 2k counter, so Otama, not too bad. But I know that I'm in a pretty like, I'm in a pretty weird spot right now. I'm going to have to try and get through, but it doesn't look like we're going to have much. Yeah, he's swinging pretty aggressively, so we'll see 9 at life. I will take... I don't know if it was a counter card that I just drew into right there, but if he just starts swinging heavy again, like another 9, you know, with the blocker, and then another 9 with the 5-drop, I'm most likely going to have to take the final life, and then that turns my Thunderbolt offline. I have to somehow get through 2 swings, and he's most likely going to leave 1 Dawn active, at least for Radical Beam. So it's a definitely not a winning spot that we're in at the moment. Yeah. And now he's planning it out. He does choose to go 9 yet again at life. And I know that I don't have a Thunderbolt, but I don't really have the counters, so I will just play the Brûlée. It slows down my opponent a little bit, but not much, if I'm being completely honest. I think that, yeah, he could probably just swing with the blocker if he wanted to, or play any Searcher cards, get some of the cards he needs. He will swing 7 here, and I'll just counter out with a Sanji and a Brûlée going up to 8, but it does feel kind of bad getting rid of one of my blockers there. I think that it looks like I had another 2k counter in hand. I arguably, I think it would have been better to use the 2k counter, but yeah, we're in a spot. We are definitely in a spot, and at 9 Dawn, it doesn't seem, you know, really convenient for us to be able to play 10 drop at all, but he does guard point out of this 7k swing. He's still got 2 Dawn active as well, so I know that there's going to be a lot of protection on those Marcos. Probably my best bet is to try and go for the 4-cost blocker Marco, and if I have Ikaku's Sovereignty in hand, hope that I can try and get through his remaining swings with blocker and that. But I realize that I'm just gonna have to go for game, and yeah, he gets the counter off, and then I swing for 8, and I'm like, yeah, I had nothing. As you can see in hand, I literally had 0 counter cards, and oh, actually, I think I had a Sanji. I had like 1 Sanji. So the previous turn, I feel like countering out with the Brûlée probably ended up being the detriment of that game for me. But it was unfortunate not getting any triggers out of life, and that really like spelled doom for me. But we go into game 2, and he starts off with an Izo. I do choose to go second this time since I lost the first match. Second's definitely just better for yellow on curve, like all around. And he picks up the 5-drop Marco. He'll go ahead and pass it over, and I think we just pass it right back. Yep. I don't want to play Sanji now that he has 5-drop in hand. I don't think we had a Sanji to be played, if I'm being completely honest, but yeah. Now we do get our first trigger, and you see me fist bump. I'm like, yes, I got a trigger. So we get the cracker, and I trashed the Shirahoshi. But he does play another Izo and a Gordon. Swings for 6. Obviously we took, but yeah, going up to 4 now, I can kind of decide whether I want to swing with Cracker pretty aggressively or not, and I choose to. So I go for the double attack pretty early, and I'll just go 7 at life yet again. And I'm thinking about this life, whether I want to leave it at the top or the bottom. But yeah, I wanted to get the double attack in early and try and get him down to the point where I'm like, okay, this is great. Like now 7-drop becomes more useful, and I can use 8-drop accordingly with the 10-drop Big Mom if I want to. It gives me a lot of options, and I don't mind that I'm going to lose board control here. I just care about the fact that we've got him in a good spot that, you know, our big cards end up being a lot more useful. And he will swing 5 at life. Bottom decks the Gordon, bringing Cracker down to 3. Oh, excuse me, down to 2. And 5-drop Marco comes down, KOing it. Surprising, I guess, a little bit. I thought that he would swing with one of the Izos, like to maybe, I don't know, maybe just try and like see if I would counter out or something, like maybe get a card out of hand. But I mean, it makes sense. I would assume that he knew I wouldn't. I would just let it go, considering he had 5 Dawn left. But I don't know. Maybe he was just trying to protect the Izo for this turn and have the swings so that I couldn't swing at, you know, his rested characters versus just having to go for his life. But I do take this 7k swing from Marco, and then he chooses to go 7 with Zoro. And I'm trying to think if taking the life is going to be better for me here or not, and I choose to, and I'm happy with it. We get a Thunderbolt, and I'm going to Thunderbolt the Marco. This makes him, it forces him to get rid of an event card in hand, and he does get, I believe, was Fire Fist? It looks like it was Fire Fist that he just trashed to bring Marco back. And then he gets a good old 4-drop Teach online on the board. And yeah, I mean, he's got a pretty scary board at the moment, but our hand is a lot better than it was the previous game. We do have counters. We do have, it looks like a Thunderbolt, just in case we have to deal with a 4-drop Marco. I will choose to go 5 here at life. And I want to see if he takes. He does take. That gives me some information that he probably doesn't have a ton of counters in hand, and he's most likely just rocking event cards. So I'm like, all right, interesting. I will go 6 at the Marco then to try and force out either event cards or counter. And, you know, because I really wasn't expecting him to take the 5 there. That was basically just to be a little cheeky, you know? Now, he is going to trash a Curly de Dawn to save the Marco, and he does have to give me the life there. I mean, I guess he could have not if he really wanted to. He could have tried to go for game with me having 2 life, but I actually do have quite a bit of counters in hand. Feels good. I don't feel super scared about the position that we're in, but Daifuku is going to go down here, and we'll see a Teach swing most likely for 8 to 9k and just trash the Izo. Yeah, so we will go 8k and draw a card from Teach's ability. Yeah. And, yeah, I'm just trying to think if this is going to be the life that we need. And I do choose to take. This was the one that got added, so I wasn't aware of what that information was. But 7 at the Marco as well. I could just counter out of this pretty easily, but I also could be kind of greedy and decide to take and see if I can get a nice trigger card. Unfortunately, we do not. And he does swing 6 here. I will counter out. That tells me that we probably don't have the we don't have the card that we're looking for there. But yeah, he puts down the Marco, and now I feel like from the great position that we were in earlier on, it feels as though we've gotten ourselves into a bit of a pickle. But I did save that Thunderbolt for this situation. Now I just have to be able to get through, you know, 2 different things. We are going to use Thunderbolt. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know, I did forget to trash the life. It does become irrelevant because we are able to get the swings through. But yeah, I wasn't really thinking about the life in the moment. I just knew that if I didn't go for game, I was going to lose this. So I just decided to go for game, and I just swing 11 and 11, and he's able to only get up to 11. So we get to go to a game 3. I had a ton of counters in hand, but I just couldn't get the yeah, I just couldn't get the board to stay the way I wanted it to at the very end. But saving that Thunderbolt is super, super important for this red matchup, and that's why I tried to pick it up for that first game, but it just didn't end up working out, you know, because my opponent was just aggressive enough to the point where I could not defend it with like the 7 cards I had in hand not having counter. But going into game 3, we are going to start off going first, because since he lost, he gets to choose his you know, his decision right there, and obviously, you know, puts me on the opposite end of where I want to be. But I do have kind of a weird decision to make at first. I do decide to take the Brûlée for the blocker. I know that that might be like some late game help or potentially just some early game counter. And we're going to see Izo coming down. He chooses to take that 4-drop Marco. Already seeing the Marco makes me go, all right, we got to have some sort of plan, because without Thunderbolt, you know, that can be a really annoying card to deal with. And 3 Dawn, I'm hoping that we have Parasparrow in hand. If we do not, it's looking like it's just going to be a big old 9k swing at life. I want to try and save the pudding. I could do 2 5k swings, but I want to save the pudding to try and swing for Izo or Buggy whenever they get rested. And yeah, I'm just, I can't remember exactly what we're talking about right now, but I was just chatting with him about something. But I choose to go 5 at life. Oh, that makes me feel good. Do we have Parasparrow? Yes, look at that. Beautiful card. Man, I honestly love Parasparrow whether you're going first or second. Like, first, obviously you're just playing it on curve and you don't have the leader ability to use, but second, you can use that leader ability and play the card. Oh, it feels so good. But my opponent does play Makino, swings, I think, 6 with Buggy here. And we do choose to take. Oh, somebody hit the camera. But we end up lifing the Cracker on first life. This is phenomenal. This is way better of a start than I've had in either of the first 2 matches. So I'm very happy. But he does choose to use the Fire Fist, also trashing another Fire Fist to get rid of the Cracker as well as my pudding. And I will go 5 at the Makino. I know that I kind of got to get that out of the way. I'll go 7 at life, looking at my life, leaving it up top, and playing another Parasparrow. Those Parasparrows are so crucial because it gives me the ability to search out the cards I'll need for the late game. You know, he can't really just afford to leave them on the board as much as possible because, you know, it really gives me free reign over, you know, taking out tons of life, being able to KO a lot of his rested cards. And now that I know that he's got 2 Fire Fists and trash as well, I can feel pretty confident about this. And he will use Gordon on the rested Parasparrow. I will let it die. And it looks like we picked up a Searcher, a Shirahoshi, and something else. And yeah, we're just going to go ahead and take that Searcher, though. Still helps out nonetheless. And Makino pumping up Buggy. I will bring out the Cracker through life again. So this game has been substantially better. I mean, we left the Cracker there, but it has been substantially better for my triggers than the first 2 matches. Can't really complain. And now it's coming down to, do I have the endgame cards? Like, if I have the endgame cards, then we're looking good. But we do have 7 Dawn, and I have some thoughts, you know, that I kind of have to get through. And I do choose to rest 1. I'm going to play Pudding. I'm not going to be able to get the 7 drop down just this turn yet, but I do. It looks like we pick up a 10 drop Big Mom and some other cards. I'm trying to debate whether I need the counter or the, you know, the overall power. I go with the 7 drop here. I can't play the card, obviously, so he knows what I'll do the next turn. But, so it's going to be kind of hard to keep my opponent guessing, to be fair. I'm going to have to go for some form of board clear. Makino has to die. Buggy is, you know, kind of a pain, just being able to be pumped up really easily. We're just going to go 5 here, I would imagine, at the Makino, but we do choose to go at the Buggy. And I don't know if this was a great call, if I'm being honest. I mean, if he lets it go, that's great. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that was a great call. That was a bit of a risky play, knowing that he has guard pointed out of a ton of stuff in the past. And we'll go 6 at the Izo here. I will choose to use 2 on leader ability, and I'll go at his life. Looking at my top, we'll leave it there, and then I'll play another Parasparrow. We've been drawing into the Parasparrows pretty nicely. Not the life that we've been looking for, but the hand that we've been looking for that sets us up for success. And he will pick up the 9-drop Newgate here through a Whitebeard Pirate Search. Now, he could put this down. He could just slap down 9-drop if he really wanted to. And it doesn't leave him with much, but I think the following turn, it might not be the worst. I know that he's still trying to set up, though, so I would imagine we're going to end up not seeing that. It's just going to be 1 under leader, and then slowly but surely picking off the things I have on board. I only have 2 cards in hand. I could counter out of the Cracker if I really wanted to, and try and save some board state, but it's kind of a weird decision. And I do choose to, though. I go with the 7 at the Sanji, and now I've basically shown my entire hand. Like, my opponent now knows that I only have 7 drop in hand, but it does save me a life swing. I know that I was trying to plan around him, my opponent, like trying to go for the board, but not being able to finish enough of my life that I'm in a decent spot. I can clear some of his as well as go for life. I'll have like, I can't remember if I had anything in the top of life. I want to say it was a 8-drop Katakuri is what I was defending there. I want to say it was. Maybe I'm wrong, but he knows we're going to slap down 7-drop. So I am going to try and go pretty aggressively at the life here. I will probably just go 1 on leader, swing 7 at life yet again. I already looked at my top life, but I got confused for a second. I was like, wait a minute, I already looked at this, so I think I decided to look at his instead. Yes. And we'll just go ahead and slap that to the bottom. And he will just block with Marco. Trashes the 9-drop Newgate. We'll put down 7 cost. And now I'm giving him a decision here. This is, does he trash his life or does he give me another one, right? If he trashes, I might have put, like, I put a more useful card to the bottom. And, you know, I just didn't want him to have. Or maybe it wasn't. It might have been the opposite. Considering I was putting down 7-drop, I might have put like a useless card to the bottom in hopes that he would trash his life and then I get something useful out of it. But yeah, that's kind of a tough decision right there. That's a little bit brutal, especially when we have such a commanding board. But he does choose to give us the life, and now he's got to work through some of that, as well as all these Sparrows, which are going to just fill up my hand with useful items. Granted, he will have that information of what I do have in hand based off of that, but I'm still okay with playing around that. Somebody keeps bumping into the table because the camera keeps moving. Sorry about that. Yeah, but we've definitely got to the point where now both Nick and I really have, like, we've really had to make some decisions, and mine have been a lot easier considering I've just had to play cards that I can get value off of once they die, whereas his have been, okay, I need to worry about my own life and how I'm going to keep these cards alive. And I know that Marco could be a problem, so if we do find a Thunderbolt, that is a pretty useful search, but we do choose to take the 8-drop Katakuri here. And okay, so he's gonna go 7 at the Sparrow. Got it. And now we're just gonna find another searcher if possible. See if we can find Pudding or something. No, we just pick up the 2k counter, Strusen, and he will play a 4-cost Marco and a 4-cost Teach, leaving 1 active for Guard Point or Radical Beam. And now we do have 7-drop on board. We do have the 8-drop that I could use to bounce something back to his life if I really wanted to stay, you know, a bit aggressive. But I think, yeah, I think this 8-drop that we picked up might actually be what we're using to get rid of either a Marco or a Teach. I feel like that's a really, I don't know. I don't think I've just played the matchup enough to understand what I think is the better play. I get rid of the Marco because I'm trying to KO his other Marco in this exact moment. So I choose to go, I think this was 8 or 9. I think this was 8, yeah. 8 at his blocker Marco. And he can't Radical Beam out of it now, but he Guard Points and Makinos, going down to no cards in hand. But now I have the choice of, you know, going for the Marco or going for life. I'm just going to go for the Marco. I don't want him to have the card while I know where the other one is. I would imagine he's probably bottom decked 1 or 2, so I feel like this puts me in a great position. And now he's just going to have to swing pretty aggressively for the Lin Lin. It looks as though we do have enough counter in hand, but he does keep upping the Dawn amount just a little bit. Yep, so there he goes. He's going to go 12. We no longer have the counter in hand. We had it for a little bit. And yeah, I'm just gonna have to let the 7-drop go here, but it's not too bad. She did her job. She did her thing. And now, I love this, by the way. There is I'm not sure if it's this turn or if it's the turn after. There is a wonderful play that I never really considered being possible. And I think it's this turn right here. And Nick does it, and I just loved it. So he brings Makino up to 4 using Makino's own ability, but she's rested. And then he swings with Teach and trashes the Makino to draw a card. I loved it. I'd never seen somebody do that before, using Makino to bring up herself by 3,000. I had to give him a fist bump. I was like, that was really cool. So it's neat little stuff like that that I pick up from some of these events, and I love playing matches against, you know, people that have, you know, they see the game differently. And I love that because it makes me feel like, all right, I have some work to be done. I love learning and seeing things that, you know, excite me on, wow, I need to add that to my own arsenal, my own repertoire. And I'll choose to go 5 at life here. He is going to take that, and we're just going to pick up 8-drop Katakuri, putting Puddin at the top of my life. I don't need the pudding on the board at the moment. I'd rather have the bigger swing, and it also gives me another life, which just forces my opponent into an even worse position. Having these late game cards is definitely coming in handy, and you know, it's been picking them up through like top decking, but also like through the Parosparrow searches that were like so crucial. Like, I think that 7-drop Big Mom was a pretty big turn, and I know that in hindsight, I don't think that he made the wrong call by choosing to give me the life, because it would have been so hard to defend that 1 life having, you know, the onslaught of these 8-drops coming on behind. So yeah, it's a tough call either way, but he goes 5 here, or no, excuse me, 10 at the 8-drop, and I will counter out with a Strusen and a Brulee. And now we just have to plan around. Do we go for a game, or, you know, realistically, actually, we should just 100% go for a game. We have 4 life. What are we talking about? We got 4 life. We're chilling. And yeah, it's probably just going to be 9 on lead, 9 on 8-drop or something like that. Just continuously swing for 9, just to force out the Radical Beam whenever he does get it. And yeah, I'm just going to go 9 with leader. I'm going to look at his last life. Or yeah, the last life that I need to know about, because I know that he has Marco. He guard points and Marcos. Oh, and I felt so bad. I was like, I did swing 9 here, and he had to trash the remaining card in hand. So that was a bit of a bummer. Gave me information, but I mean, realistically, he told me he was going to counter out of it anyways. But yeah, he had to use all 3 cards in hand. And now we can just go pretty comfortably, knowing that he doesn't have enough. I will just use Thunderbolt to get rid of the Teach. I'll go 8 at life. He will Whitebeard search, picks up the Marco as well. And now that he picks up that Marco, I'm not really certain if it's worth going for his final life yet. I don't really need to be that aggressive, because I could just give him 2 Marcos, which makes swinging through for the KO pretty annoying. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do all that just yet. So let's go with him only having 1 Marco on board, and then we can easily push for game. Yeah, my opponent does search out a, what was it? I think it was a Jozu. Yeah, and then just plays the 4-drop Marco. And now now for sure we can pick up the game. With him having 1 card in hand, as well as the Marco in life, we'll swing for 7, we'll swing for 8, he blocks, and then we'll swing for 9. Yeah, and that's a good game. It was a best of 3, and it was honestly some awesome matches. I always love playing against Nick. I feel like we have some great games. Yellow versus red is a little polarizing because it really comes down to if I can get pretty lucky out of the triggers in my life, and if I'm able to have that Thunderbolt to take care of endgame position. But thank you again for watching as always, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see y'all in the next one, all right? Peace.